When you sit down to watch a blockbuster movie, you're not just watching a story unfold, you are witnessing a carefully constructed illusion. Every frame is a digital canvas, painted with dozens, sometimes hundreds, of individual elements. This process of building a shot is all about layering. Think of it like a digital lasagna. Each layer adds a different flavor, a different texture, until you have a complete, cohesive meal. Without this method, the epic space battles, towering monsters, breathtaking fantasy worlds you love simply wouldn't exist. They are not captured by a single camera, they are painstakingly assembled, piece by piece, layer by layer, to trick your eye into believing the impossible. The importance of this layering process cannot be overstated. It is the fundamental principle of all modern visual effects. When a director wants to place an actor on a distant planet, they don't fly the entire crew to Mars. Instead, they film the actor against a green screen. That performance becomes one layer. The Martian landscape, likely a computer-generated matte painting, is another. Swirling dust lens flare from a binary sun, alien ships flying overhead. They are all separate layers as well. It is the job of the visual effects artist to take these disparate elements and seamlessly blend them into a single, believable shot that serves the story. This is where the real magic happens. This approach gives filmmakers incredible creative freedom. It allows them to control every single element within the frame with surgical precision. Is the explosion not big enough? We can scale it up without having to reshoot the entire scene. Does the color of the sky feel wrong for the mood? We can adjust its hue and saturation independently of the foreground characters. This level of control is what separates modern filmmaking from its predecessors. It transforms the director from a mere documentarian of action into a true world builder, with the power to dictate every minute detail of the reality they present to the audience. All thanks to the power of stacking layers. So, the next time you see a superhero soaring through the sky or a dragon breathing fire, remember what you're really seeing. You are not looking at a single image. You are looking at a complex sandwich of meticulously crafted components. Each layer has been individually created, tweaked, and placed with incredible care. The final shot is a testament to the skill and artistry of the visual effects team, who work behind the scenes to build these incredible worlds for us. It is a process that is both highly technical and deeply creative, a dance between code and canvas that ultimately produces the cinematic spectacles that define our era of entertainment. To understand how visual effects are built, you first need to understand the basic ingredients. The foundational layer is often the background plate. This is typically live-action footage shot on location or on a set. It might be a shot of a real city street. It might be an empty desert, or an actor performing in front of a green or blue screen. This plate provides the canvas upon which all other effects will be painted. It establishes the real-world lighting, camera movement, and perspective that every subsequent layer must match perfectly. The background plate is the anchor to reality. Get it wrong, and the entire illusion will crumble before it even begins. Next, we have the computer-generated imagery, or CGI. This is arguably the most famous component of visual effects. CGI encompasses any element created digitally inside a computer. It can be a massive, photorealistic dinosaur, or a simple digital set extension that makes a room look larger than it is. It could be a futuristic vehicle, it could be a talking animal, or an entire army of digital soldiers. These three-dimensional models are built from scratch, textured, animated, and lit within specialized software. The goal is to create an asset that looks and behaves as if it were physically present and filmed by the same camera as the background plate. Then we introduce the spice: particle effects. Particles are a special type of CGI used to simulate chaotic, fluid, or gaseous phenomena. Think of fire, think of smoke, think of water, think of snow, think of dust, think of magical energy blasts. Instead of animating each speck of dust or drop of rain by hand, artists use powerful simulation systems. They define the rules of behavior, like gravity, wind, and viscosity, and then let the computer generate the complex motion of millions of particles. These effects add a crucial layer of dynamic realism and energy to a shot, making the environment feel alive and interactive. Together, these three types of layers, background CGI particles, form the core trinity of most modern VFX shots. Visual. Grid, showing all three layers. Live-action street, 3D robot, glowing particle swirl. A shot might begin with a live-action plate of an actor running down a street. A CGI layer of a giant robot crashing through buildings is then added. Finally, particle layers of smoke, debris, and sparks are simulated to integrate the robot into the environment. Each element is a separate piece of the puzzle. The true artistry lies not just in creating these individual pieces, but in fitting them together so perfectly that the audience can no longer see the seams, believing they are simply watching a single, unified moment in time. Once all the individual layers have been created, they need to be combined into a final, cohesive image. This crucial step is called compositing. In the simplest terms, compositing is the art of stacking digital images on top of one another. Imagine you have a stack of transparent sheets. On the bottom sheet, you have your background image, a beautiful mountain landscape. On the next sheet up, you draw a dragon. When you look down through the stack, you see the dragon flying over the mountains. This is the basic principle of compositing. It's a digital collage, but one where the goal is to make the final image look like it was never a collage at all. The process is far more sophisticated than just simple stacking, however. A compositor is like a digital conductor, ensuring every element plays in harmony. Their primary job is to integrate all the layers so they appear to share the same physical space. For example, if an actor was filmed on a green screen, the compositor uses a technique called keying to make the green background transparent. This creates a cutout of the actor that can then be placed on top of a new background layer. Digital matte painting of an alien world. Live-action footage of a bustling city. Beyond simple placement, the compositor must ensure every layer interacts with the others realistically. If a CGI character walks behind a real-world object, the compositor must create a mask so it's correctly occluded. They also add interactive effects. If a spaceship lands, add layers of dust being kicked up. If a character holds a glowing magical orb, add a layer of colored light that spills onto the actor's hands and face. These details are what sell the shot and make the audience forget they are watching an effect. Ultimately, compositing is where the final illusion is cemented. It is the last stop in the VFX pipeline, where all the hard work from every other department comes together. A compositor must have a keen eye for detail, a deep understanding of light and color, and the patience to tweak dozens of parameters until the blend is perfect. They are the unsung heroes who take a collection of disparate digital files and transform them into a seamless, breathtaking moment of cinema. They are the artists who ensure you don't see the layers, you just see the magic. To perform the complex art of compositing, artists rely on incredibly powerful software. These programs are the digital studios where layers are stacked, blended, and perfected. Two of the most dominant tools are Adobe After Effects and the Foundry's Nuke. While both are used for compositing, they represent two different philosophies of working. Understanding them gives you a peek into the day-to-day workflow of a VFX artist. These are not simple video editors. They are deep, complex environments for manipulating images at a pixel level. Adobe After Effects is often considered the Swiss Army knife of motion graphics and compositing. It uses a layer-based timeline. It's very intuitive for artists familiar with Photoshop. You stack your layers vertically in a timeline, much like the transparent sheets analogy. This makes it an excellent tool for broadcast design, commercials, many types of film VFX. Its strength lies in its versatility and deep integration with Creative Cloud. Bring in assets from Photoshop or Illustrator, animate in After Effects, then send to Premiere Pro for editing. On the other end of the spectrum is Nuke. Developed initially by Digital Domain, Nuke is the undisputed king of high-end feature film compositing. Instead of a layer-based timeline, Nuke uses a node-based workflow. Every operation, color correction, a blur, or a keyer, is represented by a small box called a node. Artists connect these nodes with digital wires to create a flowchart, a node graph that visualizes the entire compositing process. This approach is incredibly powerful for managing extremely complex shots with hundreds of layers, as it allows for more flexibility, organization, and procedural control over the entire image pipeline. Choosing between After Effects and Nuke often depends on the scale and complexity of the project. After Effects is fantastic for its speed and ease of use on shots with a moderate number of layers. It's a powerhouse for motion graphics. Nuke, with its node-based system, truly shines when dealing with the immense complexity of blockbuster VFX, where a single shot might involve hundreds of render passes, matte paintings, and particle effects. Both are essential tools in the modern VFX industry, and skilled artists are often proficient in both, choosing the right tool for the job to bring their digital creations to life. Creating a believable composite isn't just about stacking layers correctly in space. It's about making them feel like they belong together in the same atmosphere. Before, CGI robot with crisp, perfect colors dropped onto a hazy background. After, the same robot, now slightly blurred, color-corrected, with atmospheric haze to match the scene. This is achieved through the meticulous process of color matching and creating a sense of depth. When a CGI element is first placed into a background plate, it often sticks out like a sore thumb. Its colors might be too saturated, its blacks too dark, or its whites too bright. The job of the compositor is to grade the CGI layer, adjusting its color and brightness until it seamlessly matches the lighting characteristics of the live-action footage. This process, often called color integration, requires an artist's eye. The compositor must analyze the background plate and ask critical questions. Where is the key light source coming from? What color is the ambient light? How does the atmosphere affect distant colors? For example, in a sunny outdoor scene, the blacks won't be pure black. They will be slightly lifted and tinted blue by the skylight. The compositor must replicate this effect on the CGI element. Beyond color, creating a convincing sense of depth is paramount. In the real world, distant objects are less sharp, have lower contrast, and are more affected by atmospheric haze. Compositors replicate this phenomenon, known as depth cueing, to place elements correctly in three-dimensional space. They add lens flares, chromatic aberration, and film grain, reintroducing photographic imperfections so the whole image feels like one authentic capture. The world of visual effects layering is a fascinating crossroads where technical precision meets artistic intuition. A VFX artist cannot succeed by mastering only one domain. They must be a dual-brain practitioner, equally comfortable with complex software and the timeless principles of art. On one hand, the work is intensely technical. It requires a deep understanding of software like Nuke, Houdini, a grasp of color science, and the ability to troubleshoot complex digital pipelines. An artist needs to know how to manage render passes, write expressions or scripts, and how data flows through a node graph. However, technical knowledge is useless without a strong artistic foundation. A compositor is a painter who uses pixels instead of pigments. They need a sharp eye for composition, color, theory, light, shadow. When integrating a CGI creature, think like a cinematographer. Where would the skylight hit its back? How would its shadow fall on uneven ground? How would its movement affect the dust in the air? These aren't answered by a formula. They need an artist's sensibility, honed by observing the real world and studying art, photography, film. This balance is evident in every task. When matching a CGI element to a plate, artists use technical tools like color pickers, waveform scopes. Final tweaks are made by eye, guided by artistic judgment. For depth, they might use a Z-depth pass to control haze density, then use their creative eye to dial how much haze sells distance without flattening the image. It's a constant dialogue between left and right brain. Ultimately, this duality makes VFX unique and challenging. The difference between a good visual effect and a great one often comes down to the final 5% of the work. It is in the meticulous precision of the layering process where true realism is born. An audience's suspension of disbelief is incredibly fragile. A single mismatched shadow, an edge that is too sharp, a color that doesn't quite belong can instantly shatter the illusion and pull the viewer out of the story. This is why VFX artists obsess over the smallest details, polishing each layer until every element feels perfectly integrated. This final polish is not just about making things look cool. It is about removing any evidence of trickery. Consider the interaction between layers. It's not enough to simply place a CGI character on a background. The character must affect its environment, and the environment must affect the character. If a character walks through a puddle, the compositor must add layers of ripples and splashes. Not just that, but they must add a layer of wetness to the character's feet and a subtle, reflected image in the water's surface. These small, interactive details are computationally expensive and time-consuming to create, but they are absolutely essential for grounding the effect in reality. They are the details that your conscious mind might not notice, but your subconscious mind absolutely expects to see. Precision in layering also extends to the edges of elements. One of the biggest giveaways of a bad composite is a harsh, cutout-looking edge. A skilled compositor will spend hours refining these edges. They will use multiple techniques to create a soft, realistic edge that has the correct amount of light wrap, where the light from the new background subtly bleeds onto the edge. They will also ensure the motion blur on the edge of the moving character perfectly matches the motion blur captured by the camera in the background plate. This level of detail is what makes the seam between layers truly invisible. In the end, the goal of every VFX artist is to become invisible. Their greatest success is when the audience is so immersed in the world and the story that they never once stop to think, how did they do that? This level of immersion is only possible through a fanatical dedication to the craft of layering. Every light source must be accounted for, every shadow must be cast correctly, and every atmospheric effect must be perfectly balanced. It is this painstaking, layer-by-layer construction, this careful blend of art and science, that transforms a collection of digital files into a living, breathing moment of cinematic reality. Layering VFX is both technical and creative, and precision in layering ensures realism.